Bear market not over. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet, always starting with Bitcoin. We are breaking this downward trend line. However, it's nothing to be hopeful over, as I believe we are still going to have a push down to grab some liquidity down here, right around the 200 EMA. I have a hammer posted here. It may be a little bit further, but I believe we are going to have a pullback, grabbing some of those sell orders and buy orders at the same time, immediately pushing it right back up over the 108, and a continuation upwards, moving the rest of the market with it. Moving on to Floki. Floki is still in its downward trend, but it is slowly getting a little bit of support. This black upward trend line right here, if I can make that a little bit bigger, this one is the more important to keep an eye on, as long as we are staying roughly in that range above the 0.786. Floki is looking a little better, but it's a meme coin, so definitely don't put an entire bag in this. But it does have a long way to go to be hitting its previous all-time high. A little bit will go a long way. Maybe put $100 in it, but none of this is financial advice. We see that it broke this upward trend line support multiple times, as it was right here. And once it broke that, it had that continuation downwards towards this upward trend line. Keeping that in mind, once we get over the 200 EMA, that's where you'll be looking for your entry. Perpetual protocol. A lot of people don't talk about this one. We need to get it above the 200 EMA for it to start having some major movement. But we are at 25 cents, and its all-time high is $25. So you do the math, it's pretty good risk to reward ratio. However, we have created a lower low. But ultimately, if we get over that 200 EMA, we may see a quick pop like this, then pushed all the way up to around $1.30 before retracing underneath the 200 EMA. And then we had another push immediately afterwards up to $2.20. 25 cents to $2.25 is not bad. 25 cents to $25 is even better. But keep in mind, we want to see a little bit more volume play out. As we saw when we hit this low, we had some stronger volume. And then a little bit more volume here, building that ultimate bottom. If we flip this inverted, we can imagine this is about as high as it's going. It's getting a double top playing out here. And if we get over that 200 EMA, we could see the waterfall effect starting to push perpetual protocol into the bullish market. XDC, one I brought up recently, so we may come back down and touch that 200 EMA back here. We're at around 89.089, which we clearly did. We touched that 200 EMA, held it as some support. With Bitcoin potentially pushing back downward, we may see it touch this upward trend line. We may get some more support upwards off of that. However, this could be just consolidation and upward momentum. But if Bitcoin starts to drop, I mean, you could see rapid movements, but I don't like this day specifically. The 3rd of February, we were at 10 cents, and then we went all the way down to the 200 EMA at 6 cents. This is at 7 cents, but that is a pretty drastic drop from its higher point at 15 cents. 7 cents to 15 cents is double money, more or less. But XDC is one that is widely known, and you can trade it on MEXC. The reference link is in the description below. If you're going to use MEXC, I always recommend using a VPN, but that's just me. None of this is financial advice, but XDC is getting some nice consolidation. Even with Bitcoin pushing down, we saw that it didn't do some major drastic movements to the downside. However, this is typical in the crypto market to see beyond like repair drop and then immediate buy back up right over the 200 EMA. It's not unforeseen, so that is a possibility, but we are holding nicely support on the 618. Mainly wait for it to get above the 200 EMA for an entry on that. Near trying to build some support off this green trend line here, but near I'm still waiting for it to get over that 200 EMA. Moving on over to XRP. A lot of people think that once it gets to the $3.50, it was going to take off. So it grabbed a bunch of liquidity. A bunch of people were selling off right here, and we had that push down, and we are in this downward channel. because we had support off this, tested this upward trend line multiple times. The CM Guppy is getting a little bit bearish with Bitcoin. With its pullback, we may see that support at 2.68 roughly at the 618 retracement. However, we could be testing this 200 EMA at 2.5, and that would be near this bottom of the trend line. And typically, like we've seen in the past, when it hits that bottom of the trend line, a lot of people see the same thing. We get some support pushing it towards this downward trend line. And I believe once it touches this yet again, we'll see that break back up towards 3.5, have a bunch of sell-offs, people who want to play this part again. But we are going to start pushing beyond that up towards $5. Some important news coming here in October and November. So we already went through a bunch of stuff that happened back here, a bunch of pumps. And October and November, there are some important dates, and you will want to have a bag of XRP prior to those dates. Not financial advice. XLM, same situation, downward wedge, bull flag. The way we would measure this to see what the potential increase would be is we would take it from the bottom of the flag to the top of the flag. And there's our flagpole. If I can grab that. Oh, come on now. Brutal. Well, how about we do this? Let's get rid of this. Now we can touch this damn line. Fuck it. Pardon my language, but we'll most likely be pushing up towards this 0.63 cent area when we break this downward trend line. That is roughly right within this fair value gap. The 6.3 to 7.7 is the area that we would be expecting for XLM. That was a huge waste of time. I'm sorry about that. LCX pushed up over that 200 EMA, consolidation support on the 200 EMA. If you haven't entered LCX, it's definitely one to be looking at an entry if it holds support over this 200 EMA. When you start seeing that bullish momentum pushing back up towards 17 cents, that's where you're going to want your entry for that push up, the 618 being at 28 cents. They say LCX can go to $50 in time probably, but LCX at 15 cents is not a bad entry point. Get your bag bigger before the market actually takes off. Toshi, remove everything. It's looking pretty healthy. It's on the 200 EMA. As long as it holds above that 200 EMA, we have this upward trend line that we were building, and we have the downward trend line that we broke. So we broke, started forming within a wedge, and now we want to see some support off this upward trend line for reliability. And if we can push back up into this wedge and break that, we can start seeing that continuation up towards 0.00087 and beyond, which would be essentially the altcoin season fully kicking in. H-bar, similar with XLM and XRP, not as widely known, but it is pushing back down towards the 618 and the 200 EMA, and we have a decrease in volume. It's not looking the best for H-bar, but I believe we're going to get some support. I believe $1.25 is what I've seen it in the past. Maybe not, but I believe it's going to be breaking this all-time high as well, around 40 cents, but currently it looks a little bit more bearish. So kind of holding off on this one, waiting to see what it'll do before entering a bigger play into H-bar personally. None of it being financial advice. NKN, still consolidation, needs to get over the 200 EMA. New one, Epic. Epic has got something to do with XRP or something or other. I'm not for sure on all the news on that, but let's do a little TA, more or less. If we can get some support off this and start pushing up, I imagine we might get an a head and shoulders play out here, and then a push down. But with the Bitcoin market, if it pushes down, it could be breaking underneath this, getting a little bit of consolidation before pushing up, potentially forming that head and shoulders. But we could see a break beyond this. And since altcoin season is picking up, I believe Epic, if it does just hold support here, we could see a push over this previous high and a continuation upwards. I mean, I just covered all bases, covered my ass on that one. There's no, to me, there's not a whole bunch of data here to be going off of to see what the next high could be, but with the altcoin season kicking in, you could start seeing Epic push up with the rest of everything, getting a peak, and you would want to get out of Epic at that point. But there's not a bunch of information for Epic. Somebody asked about Cookie DAO. I did a short on it. Cookie DAO still forming in a downward trend. Not a whole bunch to go off of here. The main thing is just getting an upward trend line going. If it can try and get some support in this area, that'd be great. But beyond that, we're looking at hitting the newer low or the similar low at 0.07 and potentially getting some support with the rest of the market. And lastly, what is this? Polygon. I was actually looking at Polygon breaking up over the 200 EMA, and it's at 27 cents. So I believe its high is around 80 cents. So we are above the 200 EMA. That's pretty good. The volume is something definitely to keep an eye on. There's a lot of buyers right within this area for Polygon. And we pushed above the 200 EMA, and we are trying to get, the RSI to get above the 50%, consolidate back towards this 50% mark before pushing up yet again. Polygon is looking like a good entry, and it's the first time I brought it into my videos. That's it for this. Descriptions got the reference links and all that. Like and subscribe if you want. Good luck, have fun with it, and I will start working on the XCN video.